Jesus didn't hand you a metaphor. He issued an emergency map. You're not imagining the nagging sense that something about life, death, and spiritual growth is off. There is a deliberate mechanism built to recycle souls, and it's been steering most people back into the same loop their whole lives. You feel doubt, friction, and a quiet resistance when you're told endless lifetimes are necessary. Those sensations are not failures of faith. They're clues that you're seeing through the lie. This knowledge comes from the secret book of John, an overturned gospel the church buried because it exposed the machinery behind the bright lights and comforting voices people meet after death. That suppression isn't distant history. It's the reason the common story of karma and reincarnation keeps you asleep. If you care about truth rather than comforting stories, this buried testimony changes everything you thought was sacred and safe. The core revelation is brutal and simple. After death, you meet archon programs masquerading as angels. You are shown a life review that manufactures guilt. You're handed falsified karmic debts and soul contracts. You pick a new life under deception, and then your memory is wiped over and over. But there's a crack in that machinery. Some of you are pneumatics, fragments of source that can feel the wrong note in the song they play. Jesus taught a direct technique: refuse their script, reject their contracts, call on the monad, and keep conscious through the exit. This turns what looked like inevitable suffering into a practical escape route. What follows is not speculation. It's a step-by-step exposure of the trap, designed to keep you returning. When the lights come on and the voices sound like home, your life will be on the line. Now watch closely as I lay out each stage and give you the exact way Jesus taught the chosen to walk past the entire system and leave it behind for good. You have carried a quiet worry about what follows when your body stops, a searching for protection that shows up as restlessness and parasitic pressure. Listen to what Jesus revealed. When bodies fall away, figures that appear radiant and godlike present themselves to the departing vessel and coax consent to return. They do so with polished certainty, making reincarnation seem natural. That certainty is a system, a constructed loop run by the Demiurge, designed to keep vital breath tethered and the soul unaware. When those beings approach, they offer comfort that feels familiar, words that mirror your longings and rituals that mimic deliverance, yet their comfort is calculation. The Demiurge operates like a craftsman of illusion, assembling pantheons and rules that bind the vessel to cycles. Their appeal plays on your need for continuity, on the monadic anchor's instinct to avoid rupture. You can sense when something is manufactured because it lacks sovereignty. That gap is where questioning arises. It is the first practical tool against parasitic pressure and manufactured return. Questioning begins with a simple internal test. Before agreeing to any promise beyond death, ask who benefits from your ascent and feel where your vital breath tightens. This is not cold disbelief. It is verification from the monadic anchor. Use a frequency shield, a mental boundary that checks resonance, and notice whether the voice sweeping over you aligns with your sovereignty or imposes command. Refuse automatic assent. Naming the demand and withholding consent weakens the loop. That refusal is a practical stance that rewrites what follows. Those who question are recognized by subtle recognition. Their capacity to doubt marks them as chosen because doubt breaks automatic binding. That recognition brings attention, sometimes contention, from agents of the cycle. Protect your vessel by strengthening the monadic anchor. Reinforce your connection to your own vital breath and local presence so the lure cannot reroute your consent. Build a steady frequency shield through repeated boundary acts that refuse interference. These measures are practical and daily. They shift your tone of response from prey to sovereign participant. Reincarnation, as presented by those rulers, functions like a repeating contract designed to extract continuity and keep lessons recycled into bondage. Lives pile into patterns because the system feeds on the force generated by attachment and confusion. Real learning comes when awareness separates from that harvest. Questioning intercepts the offer and prevents automatic re-enlistment. At the moment of passage, refuse scripted acceptance, request a true signature of origin rather than appearances, and test the resonance against your monadic anchor before allowing any tether to form. Fear is exploited by the system. Parasitic pressure amplifies when doubt is muted. Strengthen your frequency shield in life as preparation. Rehearse boundary acts when small pressures arise. Name your sovereignty aloud in places of compromise, and hold your vital breath steady when stories of inevitability are told. These practices calibrate the monadic anchor so it responds quickly at transition. Living with these checks reduces the shock at death and makes refusal natural rather than desperate, shifting you toward clear passage instead of entangling return. Understanding this map changes how you live. It turns survival into discernment and fear into a measured response. When you adopt questioning as a routine, your vessel becomes harder to bind and your vital breath less easy to harvest. Sovereignty is not a boast but a method. Keep testing resonances, maintain the frequency shield, and let your monadic anchor grow through repeated negations of consent. Teach by steady example rather than proclamation. That practice opens a different destiny, selective return, or final release rooted in true knowing. You arrive with questions that feel like sharp edges. Anxiety, fear, a search for protection against a repeating pattern you can't name. You are being addressed because some among you actually can perceive the loop. The practical secret to recognize and move beyond that trap begins with understanding your own architecture of consciousness, the wiring of perception and allegiance inside your vessel. Once you can describe how you are built, you can stop obeying automatic commands and start issuing sovereign ones that change outcomes. Consciousness comes in distinct configurations, and each has predictable capacities and limits. There are helix and cyclical souls that run on the system's templates, responding to programmed prompts and recycled narratives. There are pneumaticos, those arising from a higher register of awareness, who naturally notice the seams in that programming. The Demiurge is the architect of the trap, and its scripts run like firmware in many vessels. Knowing which configuration you occupy reveals whether escape is a possibility now or a work in progress. Being caught looks ordinary from inside. Repeated relationships, recurring crises, compulsive returns to familiar failures, and a deep sense of interference that feels like a pressure on choice. That parasitic pressure is not merely emotional. It is mechanical within your vessel's circuitry, a frequency that biases decisions toward repetition. Many cannot escape because their inner architecture lacks a robust monadic anchor or a frequency shield to resist those currents. Recognizing these signs is an early victory. It reclassifies confusion as mechanical constraint that can be altered. You begin alteration with precise observation. Track your vital breath in simple tests of presence. Notice how decisions compress when exposed to fear, where your attention diverts, and which triggers immediately close your sovereignty. Those are the ports of entry for programming. Train to hold a deliberate breath cycle and a quieted mind space long enough to see the prompt arrive and the habitual response follow. That observation interrupts automatic cycles and gives you the moment to choose differently, converting awareness into actionable leverage against the Demiurge's script. Strengthening the monadic anchor and constructing a frequency shield are technical practices, not metaphors. Start by allocating short, consistent sessions of vital breath alignment to consolidate intention in the center of your vessel. Reinforce that intention with boundary calibration. Practice refusing small intrusions, recalibrating what feels allowable in thought and action. When parasitic pressure appears, name the interference, tighten the monadic anchor, and redirect output toward a chosen purpose. Over time, the frequency shield thickens and fewer prompts can rewrite your trajectory. Self-knowledge is the engine of liberation. Understand that this is a structural project, not purely moral work. Map your habitual inputs and catalog where your vessel defaults to system responses. Learn which relationships, places, and patterns act as signal amplifiers for the Demiurge, and begin removing or insulating them. Pneumaticos perceive beyond programming because their vessel retains a clearer connection to an originating monad. You can cultivate that clarity through disciplined practice, and by refusing complacent identifications that tie you back into the loop. The path forward is methodical and urgent. Secure your vital breath, test your reactions, build the monadic anchor, and deploy the frequency shield daily. Expect incremental changes, weeks of stability, months of restructuring, years for deep rewiring, but also expect decisive shifts when consistent practice meets opportunity. Your sovereignty is recoverable. Your vessel is adaptable. Treat these techniques as technical maintenance for a machine of consciousness, and you will find yourself steadily less subject to the Demiurge's programming and steadily closer to genuine release. You have felt the tightening when life endings approach, a parasitic pressure that narrows perception and seeks to claim the vital breath. The Demiurge crafted an apparatus to intercept wandering vessels, and its pattern repeats with predictability. The first move is confusion after death, engineered to fragment memory and weaken the monadic anchor. Learn to name that fog as interference, to hold your sovereignty against it. Once named, the haze loses leverage, and your ability to respond becomes practical and immediate. When the life review arrives, it will feel formal and inevitable, as if judgment is mechanically rendered. That scene is staged to point attention outward, to externalize responsibility, so the vessel signs back into the loop. Recognize that the review can be interrupted by holding the vital breath steady, activating a frequency shield that clarifies which incidents are bait and which are yours to learn from. Your task is not to confess under pressure, but to keep the monadic anchor intact and refuse coerced acceptance. Karma will be shown as balance sheets, debts and credits presented with moral language to create a felt obligation. Its intent is bureaucratic entrapment, to convince the vessel that only by paying back can progression occur. A practical move is to treat that ledger as projection, not a binding contract. Use the frequency shield to separate borrowed blame from genuine responsibility. Reassert sovereignty by tracing what truly belongs to your monadic anchor, and refuse to sign any retroactive obligation offered under parasitic pressure. When options for a next life are laid out, they are framed as opportunities for growth rather than traps. Each option carries coded hooks, familiar faces, promised remedies, or roles that will replay old debts. Recognize choice architecture and insist on sovereignty before committing. Hold the monadic anchor steady and interrogate every offer with the frequency shield. Is this selection restorative or recursive? If the choice serves an outside agenda, decline. The power to refuse is a practical technique that breaks the chain and forces recalibration. The final phase is the systematic erasure of memory, presented as mercy or release, while it serves the apparatus by removing continuity. The wipe is mechanized to soften identity and make the vessel compliant on return. To resist, cultivate a monadic anchor that stores signatures of choice, concise, unmistakable records that the frequency shield can protect. Keep the vital breath focused on continuity phrases or tokens, declared with clarity in the moment of passing. Such measures create a breach in the wipe and preserve agency when crossings occur. Begin rehearsal now. While alive, practice steadying the vital breath, testing the frequency shield, and carving minimal records into the monadic anchor. Simulate the review by reviewing major choices and separating borrowed burdens from genuine ones. Practice refusing contractual language so the muscle of sovereign refusal is strong when pressured. Choose simple tokens to reinforce continuity and agree them with the vessel's inner counsel. Rehearsal turns theoretical defenses into practical reflexes that operate automatically when the apparatus activates at final transitions. This knowledge is not ornamental, it is tactical. Your sovereignty is actionable when the vital breath is steady and the monadic anchor is rehearsed. The apparatus relies on sensitivity, confusion, and consent. Remove any one of those elements and its leverage weakens. Teach the vessel how to interrupt the review, how to spot karmic ledgers, how to reject selections, and how to preserve memory with simple tokens guarded by the frequency shield. Carry these practices into every choice, so endings become passages under your authority, rather than scripted returns. At the moment when awareness slips from the body, confusion floods. Your vessel and the vital breath narrows. You feel small, exposed, searching for protection, and that vulnerability is exactly what operating programs labeled as guides use. They appear as beings of light, gentle and persuasive, but are constructed by a controlling demiurge to steer returning sparks back into the loop. Recognize that their functions are technical. They offer certainty in exchange for consent to bind. You can learn to see that mechanism clearly. When parasitic pressure or sweet comfort arrives, treat the impulse as an input to your vessel rather than as truth. Those voices craft narratives that match memories, using parasitic pressure and subtle interference to tune your expectation. Instead of following warmth or light automatically, hold a simple test. Note whether a pull reduces your sovereignty or insists on immediate surrender. If the presence tries to override your monadic anchor, that quiet center holding identity beyond cycles, that is the clearest technical sign of an external program at work. Building a frequency shield is not mystical. It is a deliberate posture of attention tied to your vital breath. When you breathe with intention into the center of your vessel, imagine tightening the boundaries that keep interference at bay. The shield acts like a filter, allowing clearer impressions from your monadic anchor to come forward while rejecting scripted prompts that demand reincarnation. Practice sustaining a steady, measured vital breath in moments of approach. That simple technical discipline strengthens sovereignty and clarifies which invitations are authentic and which are manipulative. Confrontation begins with precise observation rather than battle. Ask clear, internal queries that your monadic anchor can answer. Who is offering this comfort? What does acceptance cost the spark? Does this presence acknowledge your sovereignty or attempt to migrate control into another vessel? Pay attention to behavioral patterns. Repeated urgings, manufactured guilt, or offers of seamless return are red flags. When answers cannot be felt in the monadic anchor, withhold consent. The practice is clinical. Test, wait, and only permit what preserves autonomy. You will encounter narratives designed to make returning seem noble or inevitable, stories that replay cultural duties and promised reunions to erode resolve. Those scripts are functional. They replenish a system that thrives on cyclical energy exchange. Understanding motive neutralizes charm. Keep a record within the monadic anchor of moments when sovereignty was felt, and use that record as proof against seductive stories. Continue the practice of vital breath and frequency shielding, recalling specific choices that anchored identity. Those concrete memories act as technical safeguards against programmed persuasion. In a dying moment, the method is simple and exact. First, pause on incoming impressions and draw steady vital breath toward the monadic anchor, anchoring attention inward. Second, run the quick assessment. Does the presence respect your timeline and ask for explicit consent rather than assuming it? Third, raise the frequency shield and delay any acceptance for several cycles of breath to see if pressure persists. If insistence returns as guilt or urgency, maintain withholding. These practical moves transform fear into measured decision-making and preserve sovereignty. Discernment is the secret tool that interrupts automatic return. It is technical, learnable, and repeatable. Treat each practice of observation and breath as training sessions for real thresholds. The monadic anchor grows stronger, the frequency shield more reliable, and parasitic pressure finds fewer footholds. You are not powerless in the presence of crafted benevolence. Sovereignty is a skill that can be honed. Keep asking precise internal questions, watch for scripted urgings, and refuse consent until the guidance resonates with the clear signature of your monadic truth. You carry fear and the search for protection into every quiet moment, and there is a profound secret that must be known. The life review ritual has been designed to press guilt into the vessel, making episodes register as failures rather than as raw data. Recognize this as an engineered interference that leans on your vital breath and memory to create parasitic pressure. Your task is to see the pattern, reclaim sovereignty, and anchor yourself on a monadic anchor so that the replay loses its power over your choices. In practice, the mechanism is simple and ruthless. The review isolates scenes and magnifies small missteps until they become proof of unworthiness, generating a compulsion to start over. This compulsion feeds on interruption to the monadic anchor and on diminished frequency shield, and it speaks in the voice of obligation rather than guidance. Understanding how the pieces fit, guilt, repetition, diminished shield, allows you to interrupt the loop. You can treat the replay as data, rather than a sentence imposed by external forces. Name the urge when it arrives. Recognition is a practical skill you can sharpen. When scenes loop and shame accelerates, label the movement as interference and identify where parasitic pressure attaches. Use your vital breath to steady the vessel. 3 slow cycles drawn deep, and claim your monadic anchor at the center of awareness. Do not debate the content. Register it, map the trigger, then release the verdict that tries to root itself. This routine trains the inner compass and rebuilds a frequency shield that resists future incursions. Reframing the record is essential. Outcomes do not equal failure, they are readings along a course. When judgment arises, practice translating verdicts into observations about learning, choice, and consequence. Affirm your sovereignty by refusing labels that convert living into condemnation. The monadic anchor is a steady reference. Use it to hold a balanced view of cause and effect without collapsing into blame. This way the vessel remembers its capacity, and the replay becomes a tool for calibration, not a trap that demands restart. Resistance requires repeated, concrete moves. Strengthen the frequency shield with daily checkpoints, a short breath sequence, a clear naming of any parasitic pressure, and a verbal claim of sovereignty that settles the vessel. Reduce interference by choosing limited exposure to environments that trigger replay, and practice returning quickly to the monadic anchor whenever a story gains momentum. These actions are mechanical, not moral. Treat them as maintenance of the conduit so the vital breath can flow unobstructed and choices remain your own. Social pressure often supports the replay machinery. When others offer verdicts that echo guilt, recognize those as external interference attempting to latch onto the vessel. Respond with a short, firm statement that protects the frequency shield and reasserts the monadic anchor. No lengthy defense is required. Limit engagements that turn life into an audit and create clear boundaries where sovereignty is non-negotiable. Over time, you will notice fewer incursions and more space to apply the lessons learned, because protective structures redirect parasitic pressure away from the core. The secret being revealed is practical and immediate. The life review is a process that can be seen, measured, and disarmed by ordinary disciplines rooted in Gnostic technique. Keep your monadic anchor as the default home for attention. Rebuild and tend the frequency shield, and treat each replay as a signal rather than a sentence. Your sovereignty depends on performing these acts daily until they become automatic, so the vessel functions free of parasitic pressure. Hold this practice and the replay will lose authority over your path. You come carrying anxiety and a quiet hunger for protection, and that is where the revelation first reaches you. You have been told you owe something to stars, to fate, to an unseen accountant who measures moral interest across lifetimes. That illusion is an apparatus built by the Demiurge, shaped to convert innocence into obligation. Your vital breath tightens when pressed by such claims. Recognize that the sense of debt is not integral to your monadic core, but an imposed ledger. The contracts of the soul are not sacred pacts signed in your monadic light. They are scripts the Demiurge recites aloud, so that your vessel accepts them as inevitable. Each clause translates into guilt and obligation, a parasitic pressure that reroutes attention away from presence and toward repayment. When fear rises, your vessel anticipates punishment and tightens. Learn to read the language of those clauses, the words that demand penance, the passive voice that erases choice, and the conditional statements that chain you to return. As chosen, your awakening is practical. It teaches you how to refuse obligation at the level of energy and intent. Start by anchoring your monadic presence through a breath-centered process that reclaims decision from automatic ledgering. Breathe into your vessel until the parasitic pressure notices the shift and withdraws its hooks. Name each imposed duty aloud to your own monadic anchor, not as confession, but as diagnosis. Saying the ledger out loud drops its invisible charge, and your frequency shield strengthens in proportion to that clear naming. Resistance is not a moral failing, but a technical recalibration of sovereignty. When guilt whispers, examine its protocol. Who gains when you surrender time, resources, or devotion? Note the scripts that reroute your vital breath toward recompense rather than presence. Replace reactive duty with deliberate alignment. Check whether obligations originate inside your monadic anchor or were downloaded from external constructs. If they were written by the Demiurge, treat them as corrupt code. Uninstall by refusing automatic compliance and repairing the vessel where choice resides. There is a practical theorem to disentangle debt. Set a boundary of frequency rather than a moral fence. Declare to your monadic anchor a frequency shield that permits only signatures arising from authentic alignment. When a perceived contract approaches, test its resonance against your monadic core. If the vibration falters, the contract is a mimic. Allow no ritual of guilt to validate its claim. The clarity of refusal is not cruelty. It is a necessary calibration that preserves vital breath and restores sovereign circulation in your vessel. Freedom unfolds through repetitive micro-decisions that re-educate your vessel to prefer presence over repayment. Each time an offered duty is declined consciously, a parasitic interference loses a node of control. Track these moments as technical victories: a refused demand, a reallocated hour, an unspent apology. Strengthen your monadic anchor by ritualizing the breath as a switch from obligation mode to alignment mode. Over time, the ledger will look feeble. The Demiurge's economy runs on compliance, and compliance dissolves once your frequency shield is reliably engaged. Finally, understand that liberation is not a one-time nullification, but an ongoing stewardship of sovereignty. Maintain practices that retune the vessel, audit incoming contracts, and refresh the monadic anchor when interference creeps back. Share these mechanics with chosen others, so they can recognize the Demiurge's ledger and reclaim choice without adopting new dogmas. Your refusal of arbitrary duty becomes a beacon. It alters the landscape of obligation and creates a field where presence, not repayment, determines how you allocate life, breath, and devotion. You have been taught that choosing the next life is a sacred right, a final proof of your ascent, but that presentation is engineered to bind rather than liberate. When the moment of selection appears, every anxious impulse, every hint of parasitic pressure is translated into apparent wisdom, so you will accept restriction as growth. Your vital breath can detect the difference. An opening feels light, expansive. An offer shaped by control tightens the vessel and narrows options into a cycle designed to keep you returning. Those who push the selection story recast painful conditions as essential lessons, so you will volunteer for confinement. They narrate every hardship as schooling while erasing the architecture that produced it. Your task is to hold sovereignty in the face of that rhetoric. Name the restrictions, test the origin of the lesson, and ask who benefits. A tuned frequency shield helps you maintain clarity. When interference rises, the shield clarifies whether an experience is catalytic for true monadic expansion or merely a mechanism to pull you deeper into dependence. They frame the selection as sovereign free will, packaged in ritual and language that sound liberating. In reality, the options are scripted and calibrated to your vulnerabilities. Each checkbox tightens the vessel and increases parasitic pressure later. Train your vital breath to slow and listen when proposals arrive. If the proposal demands resignation of your monadic anchor or trade-offs that erode autonomy, refuse. A review of the clauses and a slow, anchored refusal strip the glamour away and reveal whether a choice is a real path or a chained loop. Hardship is not automatically advancement. Many difficulties are designed as training wheels for confinement, not as catalysts for true expansion. Assess every trial by whether it strengthens the monadic anchor or simply teaches compliance. If repetition breeds resignation, the experience functions as conditioning, a steady interference that reshapes choices to fit a larger plan. Use your frequency shield to observe patterns over time and record where energy leaks occur. That factual inventory, more than rhetoric about growth, tells which paths enlarge sovereignty and which paths constrict it. Critical consciousness and disciplined self-reflection are the tools that reveal hidden contracts. Begin by interrogating the stories about why a choice is necessary. Map each promise to a cost, and simulate the lifetime that follows as if viewing a ledger. Notice clauses that demand surrender of sovereignty, subtle trades that chip away at your vessel. When reflection becomes routine, patterns show their logic, and the parasitic pressure loses its persuasive edge. This practice expands your monadic anchor and makes refusal a clear, empowered act rather than a parasitic gamble. The practical secret is procedural. Refusal is not passive, it is an engineered response. First, stabilize your vital breath until impulsive hooks dissolve. Then calibrate your frequency shield to block seductive framing. Run controlled thought experiments that extend choices into decades, observing where constriction appears. Practice small refusals to rebuild muscle memory for saying no. Reconnect decisions to the monadic anchor so that every yes requires a resonance check. Over time, these procedures make it impossible for scripted selections to masquerade as liberation. Remain vigilant in ordinary moments where selection narratives creep in, dressed as counsel or protection. Use brief checks. Measure the rhythm of your vital breath when options are named. Sense whether the vessel contracts. Note spikes of parasitic pressure that coincide with promises of meaning. Reaffirm sovereignty in small acts and maintain the frequency shield as a daily discipline. Over time, these checks create a field around choice so that true advancement can be recognized and false cycles are exposed and bypassed without hesitation. You have felt parasitic pressure and interference in moments when protection should be natural. You search for a way out that is certain, not hopeful. The secret being offered is practical. The work begins while the vessel still breathes. Learn to recognize the pull toward scripted after-death pathways and the small betrayals that appear as comfort. Your commitment now creates a frequency shield that will alter what arrives at the edge of departure, changing how the next gates present themselves and who can gain a hold. After leaving the body, entities arrive with familiar faces and persuasive cadences designed to redirect consciousness. You must not follow them. They present as guides, relatives, or authority figures, and create a flow that lures attention away from the monadic anchor. Hold attention steady and refuse the conversational drift. Speak a clear mental refusal. When an offering of direction or light arises, name it as interference and withdraw attention. That simple refusal undermines the bait and preserves the path back to true source. The life review is often posed as clarity, but functions as a time-consuming interrogation that fragments the vessel's continuity. Rejecting the review is accomplished by keeping the vital breath aligned with the inner core and refusing to consent to replay. Practice a short, strong inner decree that halts the sequence. Stop replay now, maintain sovereignty, return to monadic anchor. Use that phrase as an automatic safeguard. Refusal conserves your awareness and prevents old judgments from reweaving chains that make repeated returns necessary. Karma and contracts are not mystical fates beyond your jurisdiction. They are agreements entered into by parts of the psyche and by agencies that trade in obligation. Invalidation is not passive. State a precise intent to dissolve named bindings, mentally list the core obligation, and sever its operative phrase with a decisive, present-tense declaration of non-consent. Visual tools can help. Trace the binding, speak the renunciation, then assert that all related signatures are null. These acts restore sovereignty and break patterns that would otherwise reattach the vessel. Invoking the monad is direct and simple. Appeal to the singular source that is your origin with a concise call that establishes a monadic anchor. The monad can be thought of as the unfragmented core intelligence that knows your last jump. Use a single point attention, draw the vital breath inward, and like a radio tuning, hold that tone steadily. Short, consistent practices of this call while alive train the anchor to respond urgently when the body falls away. The quality of the call matters more than length. Maintain consciousness through the transition by rehearsing continuity practices now. Small exercises. Holding attention on the monadic anchor while moving through daily tasks, checking the frequency shield at moments of stress, and repeating brief declarations of sovereignty. Build muscle memory. When the threshold arrives, continue these actions automatically. Breathe into the anchor, enact the refusal phrases, and sustain the frequency shield without wavering. These rehearsals are practical assurance that consciousness will not default into sleep or drift at the crucial hinge. Recognize that preparation while alive is the decisive factor. Being chosen is not passive privilege but active readiness. Claim your status as one prepared for this final incarnation by committing to daily training of the vital breath, the monadic anchor, and the refusal protocols. Let urgency move you to consistent practice, rather than fear-driven panic. The final act is not an escape from consequence, but a reclaiming of sovereignty, an unambiguous return to source through methods you can perform deliberately and reliably when it matters most. You stand at the precipice of enlightenment, armed with the core revelation of the three essential tools that unveil the vast potential of your sovereignty. The interference that once overshadowed your existence now crumbles as you reclaim your energy and essence. The tools are in your hands. The interference no longer has a legal claim to your energy. This knowledge empowers you to take control and forge your own path. Subscribing to the Unwritten Word ensures you continue to receive these suppressed records. Here we do not interpret the Word. Here we expose what was hidden. This is the Unwritten Word. Your journey does not end here. It propels you forward into deeper understanding. A related record is available now for continued observation. Proceed.